Hello and welcome to Colouring with Colourful Crafts. This is a kind of a show and explain, show and tell what I've been doing and what I haven't been doing. I'm wearing my big fleece today, so we just have to excuse that. It's very cold here in England. Even though we have the heating up, it's still freezing. So this is what these are some pages I've been working on, some pages I have still kind of been working on, a few whips, but I aim to show you everything, and then some new books that I've purchased. So in no particular order, put those aside, and I should start off with the new books I've purchased. So I've just purchased these two by Karla Magana. Oh, try and get that on frame. So this one is Cosmetica. That's the first colouring book, which a lot of people already know what's inside. I can give a very brief flick through, but basically lots of very glamorous ladies. But very nice, very, very nice pictures. And I have a really good idea what to do with, I think it was this one I saw, or was it another one? Let me just see. Oh no, it's that one. I've got a perfect idea what to do with that one. So that will be coming up. It's one of my ideas anyway. I'm not going to tell you what I'm planning on doing it, I'm just going to do it. And then this is Rococo a Go-Go. Rococo Go-Go, whatever it's called. Another one of hers. As ever, everyone knows what these pages are, but I haven't had it and I really wanted it in my collection. I don't know about the shoe pages. The shoe pages seem a bit weird to me, but I suppose it's all about like that. But you know, you can do something cool with those. I reckon I could easily do something with those ones. So those are the books I've got. I've also purchased a set of these specifically to use, I'm thinking, in Karla's books, which I want to get into a lot more. These ones were the Winsor & Newton Pro Marker Neon set. So just briefly, while we're on camera, I'm going to test them out and see what we think. Now, shall we test them out in one of these new books off to the side, or shall I test them out in more of an older book? So basically, I've been working on this one. So I've got some paper in here, which has obviously bled through, but I'll use it to put behind the page of this book, one of these books, so it doesn't bleed through. Because as you can see, when I was colouring a page, it's bled through quite a bit. And we'll just have a quick test out of these markers here. This will be a good page to try. I'm not going to try and do this in any particular way. I'm just going to swatch these on just so we can see what the, sorry, I'm moving up a bit, keep moving out of frame, what these pens will do to the paper, whether they bleed through. So yep, that comes out nice and bright, which is what I wanted. I'm not going to put a lot of them down because I don't have time to do it, and also I don't want to run out of the ink. I just got it all over my finger. And there we've got a bit of the they remind me of they remind me very much of the Staedtler highlighters. Like this one is the one in blue, which comes out like that, and I've got a feeling that this one will come out very, very similar to that. Yeah, look, almost exact. So they're very much like the Staedtler's the highlighters, very much like those in the way that they come out. See, very similar, but I still like them, and I still wanted them because with these you get a fine nib point, and also you get a thicker point as well, which is really good. So that's why I got them, mainly just to work in these books. But you can kind of see where we're going with the colour choice there, how they work. So I'm really happy with those. They seem to be good. I took them out of the packet beforehand, but you can just have a can just kind of get an idea of how they're going to go. So I'm going to put them in my drawer with my Sharpies, ready for when I get round to colouring in some of my new Karla Magana copies. I've been working on this one, which is of course the Fashion Circus. That's a repurchased book because my old one sadly smudged and went wrong. Well, a drop of ink got onto the page and ruined the page, so I had to get a new one. So you saw that one, and my next one I have done in here is this one of, I've called her the Dotster, which is a bit like a jester. That's where I got the name for anyway. I've called her the Dotster. And then I've put here, connect the dots, and I made a bit of a thing about putting dots everywhere, and then she's kind of holding them a bit like you would do with yo-yos, I suppose, and she's kind of connecting all the dots up. I thought that was quite a clever idea. As I say, I added the writing at the bottom, but yeah, it worked out quite well. That was done mostly with Sharpies, I believe. Yeah, mostly Sharpies, I think, by the looks of things. Maybe some highlighters in there. But yeah, that was that one. That was a really fun one to do. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. This thing up the side was a stencil that I had kicking around, so I used that to kind of make it look like it, you know, connected the dots up. But that was a really fun one, and I gave her greyish blue skin as well, if you can see that on camera. Nice greyish blue skin there. But yeah, really fun. So I did that one, and then I started working on this one here of the clown. I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate clowns, but I thought, you know what, get over your phobia a bit, try and colour in the clown. So I began this. I thought what I'd do is I'd kind of colour it with a very muted colour theme. I actually initially went for black and white, but black, white and grey, and I tried some of, because I'm trying to use up a lot of my pencils, pens, I put on a lot of different colours, and some came out more grey than others, and some came out more of a beige colour, even though it said that this was actually a grey. But there you go. And then I put some silver on her little diamonds on her headdress. And then what I'm planning on doing with the rest of it is giving it a nice bright colourful background to kind of, because usually you think of clowns as being colourful. Well, I've taken that and try and turn it the other way around so that the clown is very black and white and grey, and the background is going to be very colourful. That's what I'm trying to go with. I don't know how well that'll go. I don't know how well that'll work, but yeah, I'm hoping it'll work out okay. So that's what I've done in Fashion Circus. Then moving on in no particular order, I started a page in Tales from the Witch's Cottage. It was the one, and you'll know if you got this book, of the two, I think the cockerels and the mice. And I started to give it a background with a big purple moon. I thought that would work well because I was using a lot of purples in it. And it turned into an absolute disaster. I tried painting over it, that went wrong. I tried putting on some other highlighters, that went wrong. It was just an absolute disaster. So unfortunately, I've had to stick the two pages together and just ignore that that is part of this book. So when I say I've completed this book, which I hope to do at the end of probably 2026, or maybe midsummer time, maybe before, I don't know. But yeah, there is that page that unfortunately will not now be viewing the light of day, but perhaps that's a good thing. So then I started work on this of the cat and the window and the turquoise house with a little turquoise curtain, and I've done that. And I've only got, as I say, halfway through it. I've still got to colour the flowers in and complete it, but so far so good. I wanted the cat to be sort of like a golden cat, so that's what I went for, but unfortunately it's turned out to be, well, not unfortunately, because I love ginger cats anyway, but it's turned out a bit more ginger than the gold that I was originally aiming for. But there you go. Yeah, that's working out quite well, and when that's completed I shall of course be showing that. And then moving on to Dreamy Fuzzy, the cute and cozy colouring book. Huggy Artful by them anyway. And then the page I did in here was this one. Let me just get this out for you. There we go. This one of the cat and I think that's a kite. I used Sharpies and the Tri-Blend for purple. For the purple background, I used a Tri-Blend. I think it was this one. Tri-Blend. I put in Tri-Blend here. Maybe this was the watercolour. Watercolour marker. I think that's what I used for the background. Most of the clouds were coloured with an old Arteza pencil in lilac. Oh yeah, this bit here, the lighter part of it was an old Arteza pencil in lilac that I used. I just had kicking around. I've basically got a massive tub of like cheap pens, cheap pencils, and it's from in there. But I just had that and I thought, well, I'll use it up to colour in the clouds. And as I say, most of it was done with Sharpies, so it's not the best, but, you know, obviously it bleeds through like mad. But yeah, that's what I did for that one. I added the Z's coming from the little, I believe that is, correct me if I'm wrong, is that a little chick? It looks like a little chick to me, so we'll call it a little chick. But yeah, I added the Z's in that kind of styly, different font work up there, just to make that a bit different. And yep, that was it. And then around these outer edges of the clouds, that was done with my Arteco, these acrylic marker pens. So it's a bit patchy, but it's not the best. But I still went with it and I had fun, and that's the main thing when you're colouring. I don't think I've got anything else to show you from that book. Nope, that was it. Moving on to the next one, we have, of course, Stardust Space Lust, which is one of my favourite from Karla. And I worked on, moving that out of the way, I worked on this page, which was of the, I'm going to call it the Love Gun. And this wasn't here, I added this part, and then I coloured the gun in very, in a lot of pinks. And I've got smudges a few times on there. I had a bit of a problem sticking because originally I was going to put some font. It's just going through there in the background, but I decided against that idea. But I am very proud of the page overall. Yes, I'm just reading my notes. Part of the front, because I'm usually quite bad at font, but I tried it and it turned out pretty good, I thought, the love part of the font there. So I was really proud of myself for that. And then I had to use one of my big, it's a crafting, it's like this one, except for with the flower stamp on the front. I've got lots of these. I've forgotten what the hole punchers, that's it, like a giant hole puncher with different decorative things on them. So I used that to cut out a few of these, which I decorate on the paper, which I put highlighters on, and then cut out the shapes and stuck them on. I had a problem sticking them on actually, so I had to revert to using my Mod Podge, which is now almost empty. So I'm smearing loads of it on because they would not stick, especially this paper. It's more of that I don't know what you'd call it, like parchment paper, I suppose. Anyway, you know what I mean. And it wouldn't stick. I had a terrible time trying to stick it down, but eventually I managed to get there. But it's left kind of like a sheen on the page now, which makes it look really bad. And it sets off my, well, I don't know if it's OCD, but whatever it is, it annoys me. Oh dear. Anyway, that was that page. So that's my love gun. I also took the idea off the, I don't know if you know the band Kiss. They have a gun on one of their album covers, and I kind of took the idea from that to do this in these pinks and that kind of style, and I thought that really worked, but I'm really happy with it. And then the next page I did was of this one here, which is Q X-Files music, The Truth Is Out There. And this was of the spaceships in space and all the city and the big city skyscrapers and the planets. I really liked how that page turned out. That was really fun. I used my font from the last book that I purchased, which has got loads of different font sizes and letters and all of that, and I stuck them on there. And I didn't have much of a problem with the background bleeding through because I used a couple of sheets to protect the other side, but I'm really pleased with how that came out. And yeah, overall, Sharpies, more Sharpies, a lot of Sharpies on this page. I think I've got through in total this week about 9 pens, like empties, as you would call them, maybe empty pen, like completely got through them. My bin was full of empty pens, but that's okay because I purchased some more, and yeah. Okay, moving on. We have Retro Deco, another of Karla. I've been really getting into Karla Magana's books again with my obsessions. I seem to get fixated on things, and at the moment it's a bit of a Karla Magana fixation, excuse me. And then this one was the one I worked on recently. This is of the girl with the big not Mohican. Are they Mohicans? Mohicans. Mohawk. Mohican. Whatever they're called. The big hair. And then I put her silver shoes because I thought that was very retro and 80s style. And I went over with my my silver, I think this was done with a silver Sharpie, and then I added some stars, really badly done though. They are not the best looking stars, they're very wonky, but it was for a bit of fun, so I wasn't going to worry about it too much. Yes, and then I had a bit of a problem with the background because I was using trying to use up all my pens, I was using an old Stabilo highlighter in green for the background, and then I got about here and it started running out, so I had to chuck that one and start a new one, and then that was running out, so I only got to about there and I had to chuck that. This is why I've had like a bin full of pens this week. And then because it wasn't all done, I had to get out my acrylic paint pens and then kind of fill in, well, basically go all the way back over it to make it look a bit more, well, less streaked, because it's very, very streaky. It doesn't show on camera as much, but trust me, it is very streaky. But that's what I did with that page. In the end, it turned out okay. And then the next page I have marked them off, but whenever I try and actually get in and grab the marking page, it never seems to come right. So this one was of the, I suppose she's a Catwoman, cat girl, oh, Catwoman. She was done with mostly Sharpies and my acrylic paint pens, and I went for a blues, greens and orange, sorry, a little bit of orangey red, but mostly orange for that kind of colour scheme there, and I think that worked really nice. I'm happy with how I got her, and I like how I got the sun. Yep, that was that one. Very pleased. So that's coming along nicely. Then on to Hot Tropics, and I think I did 2 in here. Look, 2. Let's see, I've got the first one I've done is this one of the again, big hair lady and lots of flowers in the background and hot pinks. And then when I did it, I thought, oh, well, how can I make that stand out a bit more? So I used another of my sheets of a stencil sheet, and I did some diamond patterning over the in the background, which I thought helped to make that a bit more spectacular than it already was. And yeah, but by then the Sharpie was beginning to run out. I was using a black Sharpie, and it has, as you can see on all of the diamonds, it was beginning to get very, very low. So after that was completed, I think that's when I threw the Sharpie in the bin. But yep, that was that one. And then the next one I have is this one here, which is of the lady and the snake. I added the snake. Originally it had eyes. I can see them kind of coming through there a bit, but I don't know if you can see that on camera. You probably can't. I changed the colour from pink to black because the snake was originally in pink, and I did not like it. I went over this whole snake myself. I put the whole thing of the snake in myself, But as I say, I didn't like the way it looked in pink. It just didn't look set, if you see what I mean. I don't know if that set is the right word, but anyway, it didn't look right to me. But I definitely knew I wanted something from the beginning, like a snake in the background or a butterfly, or, you know, just something. And then I just happened across the snake idea, and I thought, well, I'll try and draw a snake because that can't be too difficult. I'm not very good at drawing, but I am trying, and that's what I came up with. So yeah, overall quite happy with that. I did a bit of shading on her, and I decided to do her green skin to go with the green leaves and the flowers. And she came out like that, which is quite good. And again, I don't believe I made much of a bleed through on this page. Oh no, just a little bit there. Because as the paper keeps kind of moving, it keeps bleeding through, but it's fine, I can live with that. And that was it. That was it from that one. Moving on, Girl Moments. I have been working on this quite a bit. And we have 3, I think, I've marked off. Yeah, 3. 3 in here. So I'll go to the first one. No in particular order. This is of the girl in her bathroom, a very retro kind of looking bathroom, but I purposely went with very retro colours. I added the kind of air coming out from the hairdryer. I've seen someone else do it, thought that looked cool, so I thought I'll copy that idea and did my own, and then put some little swirly bits to make the towel look a bit more fluffy. And I did the shadowing, and yep, overall that was quite good. Quite happy with how that came out. Unfortunately, I did manage to put a bit of bleed through on this other page, which I haven't started, but luckily most of it came out on the cat, so I turned the cat into a black cat, so I covered most of it up, thankfully. I don't think there's much of that left now, just very, very faintly around that, but it's something I can work with, which is really, really good, because that could have been an absolute disaster. And then I did this one of the girl in a cafe, I imagined, because she's a coffee lover. Looking out, I did the reflection. I tried to make it like a reflection of the light was coming down here. And yeah, that was quite a difficult one, but I made it work in the end. And I'm quite happy with the result of that, even though I didn't quite get the line straight. It seems to be going off at a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, I don't know how that, I did do it with a ruler, but you wouldn't know. Yeah, that would drive my husband absolutely mad if he was to see that. He'd be like, God, the line isn't straight. And then finally I did this one, and this was a bit of an interesting one, because I set out initially not wanting to do the shutters in black, but I think I did them in grey first and decided the grey didn't look right. Changed them to black, decided the black didn't look right, didn't know what to do. Oh, it was such a bit, it was one of those pages that just seemed to go wrong from the minute it started. But thankfully, after I added in the wall and the bird and everything, it seemed to kind of come together a bit more. The tree, I've tried to do it as a silver birch. I don't know if that's picking up on camera, but I did it with my silver Sharpie and added in some extra lines to make it look a bit like a silver birch tree. And then of course I put spots on the eggs with a bird, added some steam coming off a coffee, but it's not really showing up very well on camera, and I added some whiskers to the little cat. Also, I thought this one reminded me of a bit of a raccoon, which annoyed me because it was not intended to be a raccoon at all, but that's what I've kind of gone with, and that's what I've kind of got to stick with now. So there you go, that's from that one. Moving on, we have one from Millie Murata's Beautiful Birds and Treetop Treasures. And the one I worked on was firstly this one of the owl. The background was done in a black, now let me think, have I got that one? Oh, I wish I had it to hand. It was a black Liquitex paint, the Liquitex ones that come in a big tube, just that's all I used, just the black, and went over it, and obviously used my Liquitex for covering the owl before I obviously did the black, so that I wouldn't have much of a problem when I came back to colouring it in. Unfortunately, I did go over the lines a bit. I wasn't as neat as I thought I could be. You can't always see when you use it because the Liquitex is obviously it's clear, so when you use it you can't see as well as you think you can, and you end up with basically not as neat lines as you originally expected to do. But that's it anyway. That was my owl. And then I move on to this page, and this is of my, I think it's meant to be a wren. I think it says in the back of this book which every bird is meant to be. So if you look here, it's got the index of all the birds and of all the birds on the pages. I think this was a wren, I believe. Oh no, sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Oh no, I'm saying it right. I've just put a note here which says it was a Eurasian wren. Yeah, I think it basically European wren. I'll show you here. Let's see. Where was it? Euros. God, I'm not even going to pronounce that. It's that. Where is it? Where is it now? It was on this page. God, you know, I'd seen it before and I spotted it so many times, and I thought, oh, I've got that. And then I come back to find it and it's moved. Isn't that weird how that happens? I don't know if anyone else has found that, but God, the amount of times it's happened to me. It was on this page. And now I've got to find it. Sorry, I've got to find it on camera, or else that will annoy me. It was somewhere here. There we go. Eurasian wren. That one. That's the one that bird is meant to be of. Obviously, I haven't coloured it the colours that it is traditionally, I guess, as a bird, but I've just done my own kind of theme and colours with it. But I'm quite happy with how that worked out. It was mostly done with Prismacolor. There is a tiny bit of pen on there, I believe, somewhere. Or maybe around those leaves, to highlight the leaves. I think that was it. And then I started that, but I gave up with that halfway through because I couldn't be bothered with it any longer. They're very detailed books, and you can't use a lot of pen, you know, like fine pens. They tend to bleed through on the page, so it wasn't very good. And then I did finally one in here, which is of the Pisces, and this one started out okay. I think I don't know whether it's me, but I was finding this character in particular a very Disney-like. She reminds me of a Disney character, and that put me off her a bit because I'm not a big Disney fan. I'm not a big Disney fan, but she looked like a Disney character, and I thought, oh, that's a bit silly. But anyway, I went with it, and there she is in all her glory. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's due to the shading that I did. I don't really know, or maybe the hair, but the hair's the wrong colour because I did it with a pen that said it was blue. I'm not sure which pen it was, but it said it was blue and it came out purple, so I had to kind of work with what it came out like, and I do not like that colour, but that's the pen's fault, not mine. That's what I came up with anyway, and of course it bleeds through because they all bleed through terribly, but that's okay because they're one-sided. It really doesn't matter unless you want that side of it, unless you want to colour the motif on that side, but I'm not bothered about that. So I've done 3 of my girls so far. I hope to work through this book and you know, get to them as and when I can. So that was it for now. Stay tuned and I shall be back with more. I've been, you know, busy just doing those and kind of trying to work in, you know, when I can, when the time allows me to. But yeah, it's been overall quite a productive few weeks. So hope you enjoyed that. Bye.